Look at this. A broken keyboard, a broken laptop, all sitting in my house. You know how harmful this is? Do you know this is a prime example of electronic waste? This is something that we don't talk about that much. This is so harmful for us and our climate. And let me show you why. Now, let me show you what I was talking about.
Think about, your smartphone.
So what I'm
maybe
showing you is
because you're no longer
individuals
providing
state of the world. Electronic waste as well as a threat to humanity. Electronic waste is one of the fastest growing problems, and it is a waste field recently eager to find solutions to resolve it. The whole concept is comprised of materials that are damaged, unusable, or broken. A huge issue is that the electronic waste that is dumped onto barren lands is done illegally, and no one is doing anything about it or either stop it. The abundance of e-waste reached 41.8 million tons in 2014, which equals to about $52 billion of potentially reusable resources. The problem that continuously arises is that consumers do not take into consideration that after a certain product's active life, it needs to be disposed in the correct manner, or us humans collectively ruin the climate and increase the threats to human health with unfamiliar gases. People do not understand the depth of the situation because of what they receive from the sellers in the market. Electronics are bought and distributed with a showcase of their fascinating attributes, encompassing their sleek and appealing exterior.
Buttons give way to touch and gestures. There's no home button. A single swipe takes you to the home screen. A more responsive touch system means the gestures in iOS 11 are more fluid. The polished stainless steel band reinforces the water-resistant all-glass design. This new glove
The discarded materials inhibit deadly components such as cadmium, beryllium, or brominated flames, retardant, all of which can cause organ damage, neurological damage, and severe illnesses. The harmful gases emitting from each of these devices and or electronic products can be inhaled as contaminated air by anyone, causing them to feel uneasy and nauseous, as the human body is sensitive to familiar gases. Metal scraps can cause injuries as they are laid out onto the ground for people to walk over, scraping and scratching their skin, reaching into their flesh. The gases are also likely to cause cell damage harmful enough to extend to the severity of creating tumors. Electronic waste does not only negatively impact the human health, but is also hazardous to the climate we are a part of. Its impact reaches far into polluting nature's gifts such as air, water, and soil. The pollution of air entails the burning of electronic devices that inhibit things like metal and copper, of which when are burned are likely enough to release pollutants in the air. The harmful impact on water pertains from heavy metals being improperly handled or disposed via landfill, leaking into the soil and groundwater. The heavy metal that are disposed can maneuver their way into places such as ponds and lakes, evidently making the water toxic and unfeasible for animals and communities to rely on. The same problem applies to soil, but can be deemed to be worse. Soil is the gateway for crops to grow and food to come, but once the soil gets contaminated, the food and crops endeavor with the contagion affecting many individuals by feeding them illnesses and deliberately infecting the soil. Electronic waste is a bigger issue in third world countries, as the graveyards and slums of disposed and hazardous electronics have become a job for many people of lesser incomes, giving them a labor job that can evidently kill them.
Illegally ends up in the landfills of third world countries. Like India, Bangladesh, China, and some African countries, Pakistan has now become a dumping ground too. Computers, fridges, televisions, and unwanted old devices find a new life here, bringing employment to thousands of Pakistani people. But the health and environmental consequences are monstrous. Electronic pollution destroys everything. This represents a huge setback for a country that doesn't have the means to remedy this pollution.
The emergence of this market is due to the less stringent environmental regulations, a lethargic attitude, and poor technical infrastructure. This has given labor workers the ability to work under unhygienic and insanitary conditions. As this issue gets more severe, people have been working on solutions and resolutions on wavering this problem, causing major pollution. One of the best solutions is considered to be recycling electronic devices, but this is a problem in itself. The reasoning behind the statement delves deep into the idea that the waste is generated before it is even gone to the consumer. In 2013, Apple produced 33.8 million metric tons of CO2 emissions. Now, although e-cycling isn't the best option, it is one of the only options people can use to make a difference. Electronic waste's impact on the climate is dangerous enough to pollute the air that we breathe, essentially harming the human health, and the best way to take action is to begin recycling and or creating devices with the safety of disassembling them without grave danger.